Hey everybody, welcome to English 101 week 4. Can you guys believe that we are almost done with our course? It's crazy. After this week, we'll have just one more essay and then we will be all done, which is just insane. So what I'm going to do is just go over your assignments for week 4, go over a little bit of the writing focus for this week, and then if you have any questions, of course, please email me. Alright guys, so the assignments you've got for week 4 are just like the last 3 weeks. You've got some readings for this week, a reading quiz, a discussion board, an editing assignment. So this is going to help you specifically go through and edit your essay 3, very sort of line by line. And then your essay 3 final draft will be due on Sunday. So your drafts of essay 3 were due this past Sunday. Give me a couple days to get them back to you, but that does not mean that you can't start revising on your own. So a few things. I was watching our discussion board and I really loved all of the great feedback you all were giving each other about the song choices you chose. Some of you had some really great summaries that included some background and context to the song, and then several main points you feel like you've pulled out from the song. A few of you may want to do a little more in really digging through the song you've chosen. You're not going to get much of an essay if you've only said, okay, here's the one main idea of this song, and that's it. You're going to have a really hard time getting to 3 or 4 pages from just that. So I recommend trying to pull out several, probably at least 3 or 4 main points from the song that you include in your summary and then can respond to. Remember, not everyone has heard the song you chose, so don't assume that just because you're very familiar with Juice WRLD and his music, that everyone in your audience will be as well. That's not the case. Additionally, summaries are short, so don't treat your summary like an essay where you need, first, second, last, finally, all in the same paragraph. Just use the ideas to transition from one to the other. A few things. Now that we're getting into responding to your song, these are some questions I'd like you to ask yourself. What lyrics sort of stay with you personally, and why? This is going to depend on you as a listener, and I want you to think about you as part of that overall audience. How do you fit into what the song is trying to argue? And how do you act as part of that audience? What experience do you have that connects with your song? And then are there several ways you could look at the song? So could you maybe describe, okay, if I was this sort of person, here's how I would approach the song. And then say, if I maybe had this experience, I would look at it a little differently. Try to avoid generalizing. I've noticed some of you might say things like, well, the song is about love and how it can be difficult. Okay. Difficult for who? In what ways? In what contexts? So keep that specific audience of the song in mind. All right. The audience of your song is not Americans. It's not country music listeners. It's not even people from the Midwest, although that's really getting towards an audience. I want you to think not only about listening preferences, but age, demographics, experience, education, and several other factors that can influence the audience. All right, so one thing that I talked about last week in citing and using a song as a source is that you want to also have lyrics and quotes from your song to support what you're saying. So I wanted to kind of go over the difference between a quote, a paraphrase, and a summary. Okay, so a quote is when you use the exact words from your song to support what you're saying. You put quotation marks around it, and then you also have a citation after it. All right, when you paraphrase, you put quotes in your own words. So a lot of this essay is going to be both quoting and paraphrasing. All right? And then a summary is when you sort of take the entire song, what we're doing in paragraph 2, and condensing it down into just the main points. So you still need citations for these, okay? I'm most concerned about the citations for the quotes because you're just using this one source throughout the essay, so you don't have to keep saying the name of the song, the artist of the song. Like, if you've started with it and then make sure that you cite each quote, your reader is going to understand that you're using that same song. So let's look at an example. This is from one of the essay examples that you're going to read for this week. So this student chose the Dolly Parton song, A Coat of Many Colors. It's a really good song choice, actually, because it has some biblical references in it. And it's definitely, although an older song, it does still have a sort of current touch. So this student said, another one of the points she made that's very inspirational to me is how Parton said, she didn't have no money, but she's as rich as she could be. It shows that you don't have to have money to be happy or proud of who you are. Dolly and her siblings grew up poor and still made good lives for themselves. All right, so a couple really good things about this quote. They have quotation marks around the lyrics. They have the line number of the lyrics after. And then they gave a little expansion on what the quote meant. All right, one thing I did note is they have Dolly here, the artist's first name. And I would encourage you all to try and use their last name. Although with artists like Juice WRLD or Beyonce, they go by that full name. So it kind of depends on the artist you chose. So this is a good basic example of a quotation. But what I'd like you guys to do when you're considering your own is that you need to support these quotes, okay? You don't want to just say, I think this is a good point and it connects to the artist. I want you to think about, how does this connect to the audience? How does it connect to you? All right? Did you struggle in this way? What do you mean by good lives? How can we be rich without money? What does this tell you about having pride in yourself? I want you to ask yourselves, how does this connect to the audience that's listening? Okay? You're not just saying, oh, here's the quote, here's what the artist said, and I agree with it. What you're doing is you're arguing, how is this a good approach? So for me, I might talk about how you can be rich in family, how you can be rich in experience, how you can have a richness in your life by not the quality of the things that you own, but the emotional attachment to them. And I might give an example of, like, so this song talks about a coat that the artist's mom made out of some scraps. And I might talk about how my mom does this with t-shirt quilts that she makes. I think I have 3 of them. And she took, like, my t-shirts from high school and college and made them into a blanket that now is much more valuable by itself than it was as those individual pieces of just t-shirts I owned. The last assignment you have before you turn in your final draft is going to be editing Essay 3. So the 2 things I want you to think about while you edit. This is after you've moved your ideas around, you've revised, you've changed, you've added, you've got a lot of lyrics. What then I want you to do is look specifically at the language you're using. All right? 2 things that I like to focus on with this essay are vague language and I language. All right? So often when we're giving our opinion about a song, we feel like we have to say, well, I think, I believe, in my opinion, for me. And the reality is that you don't. You can give your opinion without saying I think, because your words are your opinion. All right? So when you're trying to avoid I language, this example I have here says, I think this is an impactful song that has touched generations. The easiest way to fix this is just by deleting that I think. Now I have A Coat of Many Colors is an impactful song that has touched generations. You see, it's saying the same thing. One of them sounds like I'm kind of second guessing. I'm saying, this is just what I think, but you don't have to think that, right? And then avoiding that vague language is really important too. I see a lot of students use words like good, bad, great. I'm trying to think. There are many others. Oh, all over the world. And these phrases do also kind of weaken your writing. It kind of shows me that you've got an idea, but you're not thinking about the words you're using in expressing it. So I encourage all of you to use like an online thesaurus, maybe even look up like synonyms of a word you're using and look for a word that really describes what you're trying to convey. So here, instead of saying Parton talks about the bad times in her life, what if I said Parton talks about the destructive times in her life, the challenging times in her life, the depressing times in her life? Those are three words that have very different meanings and all can mean bad. All right, so try and be as descriptive as possible. We are almost halfway done with English 101 for this summer course. You guys are doing fabulously. I'm so proud of where you are and where you're going. Give me a few days to get essay 3 drafts back to you, and then if you have any questions, please, please, please email me. I'll see you soon.